Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode. Let's kind of break everything down bit by bit. This episode does seem that Kasai is basically doing what I said before. Like, they're basically trying to build up a reputation for this place because him and his whole little fascination with perfection. He just wants to make himself seem bigger and more important than what he is. Because he had that lady, Barsha, showing up. He's like, oh, selling Inhumans to and everything. It's like, oh, this is my quaint little rock. I'm trying to make a point. Because it seems like basically the episode, and even that telepath Inhuman kind of brings it up that basically he's trying to build up enough capital so that he can leave. Whatever his situation is here, it seems like it was either a punishment or it's just kind of like he doesn't have the capital he needs to kind of make the big moves that he wants to. So everything he's doing here with the humans and everything, because even he looks at it as like, oh, I saved the human race. Like the little bit that were kind of left after this, basically I took them in, almost like I gave them purpose, you know. I kept this pathetic species alive, you know, for my own entertainment, for my own purposes. So like the question is like, was he banished from the Kree or something? Like, why is he the only one amongst the Kree that's here because this was his punishment, his banishment, like whatever that case may be? Like I said, he's trying to work his way up this galactic or universal like totem pole, essentially. And it also seems like this all has to do with a prophecy too, because apparently the prophecy is talking about basically people from S.h.i.e.L.D. coming from the past to the future to changing everything. Which the way Deacon puts it, it's like basically everyone who knew about that prophecy, because prophecies are open up to interpretation. It's like everyone that knew about it, Kasai is already killed, so it's not like there's anyone that can really tell him because he meets Quake and I guess that also solves the thing I was asking too. Like, what happened? Is Daisy still alive in this world? It seems like no. It seems like whatever went down on Earth, obviously she died along with it. Because they were like, oh, how did she get here? That's most likely what that's implying, that she's dead in this world in that sense. And it's like, oh, you and Gemma, and he kind of puts it together. You're from the past. And what I really liked is when he was asking them, like, okay, you better tell me the exact same story about how you came to be here. Are there more of you? Which obviously they lie. Because Gemma's very good at reading lips and everything. So I guess that device is like, because I kept wondering like what that really meant. Like every time he spoke, I thought he messed with it so that he could. No, I guess like he has specific control over it so that basically he can make her deaf to the rest of the world, but specifically only hear his voice. But I was thinking like maybe the device is tuned to only hear his voice, but it's like no, because there's conversations where you don't hear his voice. So like I was still a little confused on that, but now like I don't know why it took me so long to be so confused about it, but it's clearer in my head now, so I do apologize about that. But the whole thing, like he made sure to stand in front of Daisy to make sure that the stories lined up, because he probably knew that Gemma had been reading lips this entire time. She's playing dumb, but I think he knew she was smart enough to do that, or whether he just did that just to do it, just to like But it seemed like it was more on a purpose thing. But it's kind of interesting. The telepath dude can also make people hear his thoughts too. So he told Gemma the story blow by blow, which is so interesting to me. I was like, that's pretty neat. I was like, wow, Gemma's either really good. I was like, to get every detail right though, that's something. And it's like, I feel like telepath dude had to have something to do with it, but I didn't know it worked to that degree. So that was kind of interesting. One big thing about this episode too is Deacon himself. We learned a little bit more about Deacon, and it's still in that situation of like, because part of me was thinking like Deacon was kind of still on their side, because even when he had the opportunity to, because Kasai was like, oh, tell me if there's any more people out there like that. And Deacon's like, okay, I'll go look. He knows damn well where everyone else is. He knows who else is from the past, but he's not saying anything. So part of me is like, well, the fact is that he didn't sell out the rest of them is kind of a plus. He could have immediately, but he didn't. But then there's the other side of me that's like, well, the fact of the matter is he could have been just doing that as a sense of like, well, I might be able to squeeze this for a little bit more if I bring them back one at a time. So the way Deacon kind of puts in this episode, it is kind of split down the middle. Like what he did with Daisy was not for her, not to help her out, do whatever she needs to. It's like, I need to take her out of the equation. She's going to cause so much trouble. She's going to get people killed. But then feels like you don't care about anybody, especially because if he really cared, he would have told him immediately what he did. What did he do? He lied about it. So, and he was always complaining. He was complaining about how everyone kept punching him. It's like, well, you deserve to be punched, because the fact of the matter is you put Daisy in that position. Like, if you were really helping everyone, you would have told them from the beginning, because things just look worse for you because you lied about it. Like, I get it, you're trying to protect everyone, which even then is kind of like, no, because you made a profit off of the whole Daisy situation, which he's saying not mutually exclusive, because it's like, oh, I help people and I get paid. That's just how things work. But it's like, it still wasn't right for him to do what he did. If he was a little more receptive to this whole situation, if he was a little more helpful, of like, hey, I'll help you this way, like rather than kind of not like, it's not like he really left an alternative, like, oh, you do this. He's like, oh, play the long game. That's about it. But you never offered her any options. Like, if you took the chance to be like, okay, work with me, we could go, I can find out some stuff about Gemma Ford, but you never offered anything like that. What did you do? You kept calling her Quake, like, oh, Destroyer of Worlds, which everyone's throwing around that title. So there must be validity to that. Not unless that's a rumor someone started just to kind of like scare up stuff around Quake. I'm just going to skip to it though, because at the very end of the episode, we see Fitz, which is like, whoa, what's going on there? Because it's not like old man Fitz. This is Fitz as in the Fitz that they knew the moment they left. So the question is like, is this some alternate reality? Like, because part of me is like, oh, the whole multiverse thing. Is this a world where the Earth died, but then you had this whole situation of like, the present day, it's 2017, but it has a different history, and in this history, Quake / Daisy destroy the world. But then I feel like because they still have not specified like what point in the future this is, because we still haven't gotten a timeline of like, and it's probably something where they're gonna be like, hey, it's a year. What? It's the year, because it's probably not going to like, and from a writing point of view, I can understand, because it's like, this way you'll have to feel so constricted. You can be like, at some point in the future, leave it at that. Don't need to get all specific, especially the way we learned about things kind of working in society make me think like it's definitely way into the future, but it's still one of those things like, I don't know, but that was my initial thought, was like, okay, this is the Fitz from this world or whatever, but it's like, no, this has to be the Fitz from their world. But still, because we don't know whether this is like a multiverse thing or whether this is just a time travel thing. So it's still that question up for debate. But either way, like, if this was, even if this was distant in the future, it's like, why would Fitz look the same way he does? So, unless he is Fitz from the past, like, because the whole continuum, time being a loop thing. Maybe he spread the rumors about Daisy so that Quake would be taken as a prize, and she would be in a position that she's in right now, so that Fitz could come check her out here in this point in time in the press. Like, maybe he eventually got flung into the future at a different point in time. The reason why they didn't take Fitz when they needed to was because Fitz was supposed to do other things. He's maybe supposed to work on other things and find his own way to the future to play his own role. Like, he needed to be maybe he's supposed to get sent earlier in the timeline than they were, so that he could be there and kind of throw himself into society. Because the crazy thing about it is, something we also have to keep in mind, Daisy and Simmons refer to Fitz in that story. If anyone utters his name as Fitz, they're like, Fitz is done. Because his name is already out there, and Cassius knows it now, so he doesn't know who they are, because he doesn't put a name to faces. Like, I'm sure, because all records probably on Earth were wiped out, so even Cassius doesn't know each member of S.h.i.E.L.D. So that's when he's like, oh, you're Quake. Because he never knew what Daisy looked like before. That's why he doesn't know what the rest of the team looks like before. To be fair, he doesn't go to the lower... Are they lower? No, they're higher levels, right? The other facilities where like everyone else is at, yeah, they're higher levels, I think. Nevertheless, he doesn't go to the other levels, so he doesn't know about May, Mac, Yo-Yo, or Coulson. Which is so interesting about the Yo-Yo thing. She's still not found out. Luckily, she was able to kind of keep it lower key than Daisy could. But ultimately, Daisy doing what she did might end up proving beneficial, seeing as now that she knows from the telepathic human dude, because he got close to Cassius during that whole like reading minds and everything, and it turns out that Cassius plans on destroying this place the moment he gets what he wants. Like, once he sells off Quake, he'll have the amount of money he needs to just leave this all behind. So this is all just a means to an end to him. So he doesn't, it's like, to him, the human race is nothing. They're just kind of a little experiment, because for him, he needs humans around so that he can have more and more people who are potential humans, so he could sell off and make the money. Like, it's all for the purposes of leaving this all behind. So Deacon's fighting so hard for the human survival, but the fact of the matter is, you just gave him the key to basically screwing the entire human race over. Technically, when you actually think about it. So Deacon trying to quote unquote do the right thing may have just doomed the entire human race, So he claimed about what Daisy doing, getting a lot of people killed. You doing what you do is pretty much going to kill the entire human race, when you actually think about it. Sadly, he doesn't know about that at this point, which, I mean, still, I'd be interested to find out what he would do when he does. But, So that's my whole mindset about that whole fit thing. We'll just kind of have to wait to find out about that whole thing. I think the next episode deals more with the Fitz situation, kind of finding out his side of the story subsequent, since the whole like ending up in this world thing. Another thing is we had Sonara and May fighting, which May's still not at 100%, which even not even at 100%, like she was holding her own against Sonara. And it seems like Sonara just doesn't need those weapons either. She's a pretty good fighter on her own. But I think if May was at 100%, that fight would have been different. Sonara did come out victorious. All we saw later on was her wiping away the blood, and then you had Kasai say, "Oh, did you deal with our gas?" Which I don't know if Sonara actually said anything. I don't think she did, because I feel like he would have said something sooner, like to Daisy or Gemma, not unless he's just waiting for his point to be like, "Oh, I know that you guys are lying because we found another one." So the question is, what is she going to do with May? To be fair, she might not associate May as being a well, no, because that's right. I was wondering about that. I was like, right, because the whole question came up about Jim. I was like, oh, who's this person that helped you? And that's why like Sonara's looking at it as like, oh, I figured it out. So it's like a situation of like, is it like, oh, are you part of S.H.I.E.L.D. or are you just a good fighter? But then like, it's like, where did a good fighter like you come from out of nowhere? You know, it's a situation like that. So I doubt she's dead. It's probably like May's locked up somewhere just waiting for the right moment to bring her out. So getting back to it, because I almost left it behind, was a whole Deacon situation. We learned more about him in a sense of his mom was one of the elders, one of the smartest people who basically were some of the first people wiped out by Cassius. He was 9 years old. He grew up with his dad. His dad tried to take over this kind of like resistance type of situation, but ultimately, he was begging his dad not to be part of that world, and it didn't work out the way he wanted it to. And so the person in that recording that Coulson played is actually Deacon's dad. So that means there are people down on Earth, which whether that's connected to Fitz or not, which I'm wondering how does Fitz do what he's doing. I'm still sitting here thinking about that, because he's a human and everything. Not unless he's pretending to be another alien species. I keep cutting back to that, but it's like, yeah, because all the humans are supposed to be there. So it's like, how does he get around that? Because he was meant to be one of the invited guests there, or at least he probably like got himself invited there to be like, hey, I'm here to check out these Inhumans. I mean, especially because so many people gathered because they're like, oh, I want to see Quake in action. I want to get her, So there might be more to that whole thing about like people on Earth. Like, it's like, but how they survived this entire time, like how they stayed hidden this entire time. I mean, with all those roaches there, but even the outside of that is like, does Cassius not know that they all survived, or like what's going on there? Like, maybe there was always underground human resistance there on Earth, that anytime someone was sent there to die, like, they helped them out and everything. Maybe something like that. And subsequently, since the numbers have grown and grown over the years, that they've sent people there to die or whatever, So it's a situation of kind of understanding his situation better, why he's so resistant to this whole like fighting back thing, because like basically everyone in this world has been beaten down. Their hope is all gone. We live this life. This is our lives. It's not the perfect life. It's not the best life. It's the only life we have. And we're like, and once again, like Deacon said at the very beginning of the season, like the human race is literally basically one mistake, one sneeze away from being wiped out, essentially. So it's just a situation where you can kind of understand where he's coming from. These people have no hope, and they have no thought about fighting back. This is just all they have, so they're not going to. Like I said, their hope has been broken. So, like I said, there's a part of me that kind of understands where Deacon is coming from, but then there's the other part of me that's like, you're a scumbag. I'm fine with the fact is that Coulson's like, yeah, I can't really trust you right now. So basically they're locking him away, at least for now. So knowing Deacon, I mean, who's to say he doesn't like squirm his way around this situation, but still. And then we learned about another element of this world too. Apparently, people can't give birth in this situation. Basically, all of humanity has become sterile. In fact, it seems like Deacon was actually the last person to be born the natural way, which is kind of interesting. Well, not the natural way, but the good old-fashioned way is the more, I think, would be, more apt saying. God, stumbled all over that. Get your words right, Michael. Nevertheless, still didn't 100% catch like how humans are brought about. Because because babies are like a commodity in this world because of that whole situation. Because once again, like, replacing people who were, killed off or for whatever reason, like, any Inhumans that were sold off or any humans that died, for whatever reason, these are to grow up and replace them, because it's like, these new humans might have the potential of going through Terrigenesis and becoming Inhumans. So there's that. And like I said, all plays into that cycle. Because basically Grill sent Mac as an enforcer to talk to this dude named Gunner about it. But they didn't know at the time that the package they were dealing with was a baby. So he's talking about, oh, I'm gonna smash it, I'm gonna rip it apart, and then like after realizing what it was, he apologized, but Gunner got super pissed. He's like, how dare you? You're disgusting. This is a baby we're talking about. It's disgusting people like you. You don't deserve to have a child. Like, even if you did have a child, they'd be screwed up because you'd be terrible at it. Basically, wrong thing to say to the wrong person because it pissed Mac off. Mac exploded and started beating the crap out of Gunner. Obviously, this is fresh off the framework, so obviously that's a testy subject for him. And even if it wasn't just a framework situation, it's also the whole, like, because let's not forget, Hope was a real child too before the whole framework situation. She was based on a daughter that he had but lost. So because it's an open wound for him, because not only did he lose his daughter in the real world, didn't even really get to know her, but he got to know her in the framework, spent time with her, had these memories of her, and then now she's gone again. It actually led to an interesting conversation with Yo-Yo, because before it's like Mac was like, yeah, he was telling Yo-Yo not to kind of go overboard, because it was like that whole conversation I brought up before, like last week's episode, that look Mac gave Yo-Yo for what she did. It's like, oh, you got that dude Zeph killed. It's like, I don't want that to be us. I don't want this world to change us. I want us to stay us. But Yo-Yo's like, no, we're going, like, we need to learn how to survive, but don't worry, we're not going to get lost. But now Mac's like, I lost my cool. Like, it's ironic. I told you to keep your cool. I'm the one that flew off the handle. But once again, it's that whole daughter situation. And it was kind of interesting too, because what bothered him the most was because when it was all said and done, like, when he lost Hope in the real world, it broke him, obviously, but he eventually found a way past it. But now here he is. A program of his daughter hit him harder than the whole death of his real daughter. So it's like, what does that say about me? Which Yo-Yo's trying to make him feel better. It's like, no, you're a good dad. You're a good person, because it may not have been real, but your love for her was real. And that's what matters most. And then immediately you have Grill being like, yo, Monster Mac, you're so cool. You're so amazing. You scared that guy straight because Gunner paid me back. Oh man, yeah, you're the man. You fit in. You fit right in. And it's just like, it was like he got pulled, like, Matt got picked up and then immediately slammed back down with that conversation. It's like, that sucks. I mean, to be fair, that's the whole principle behind the whole framework. It was supposed to feel real. So I guess because the best comparison is something they kind of made was like, basically they don't want to end up like Fitz, that basically circumstances changes you completely. Fitz was not who Fitz was in the framework. So basically they don't want this world to change them like the framework changed Fitz. So that's the biggest concern for everybody. So and kind of getting back to it, we don't know who this Fitz is before us. I still feel like, even without really knowing everything that's going to go down next episode when he kind of explain all of this, but I think this is the Fitz we know, and everything's part of a plan. Because even he's kind of like, no, the fact is Daisy's the destroyer of the world. Why shouldn't she fight? Because basically the whole point was for her to lay back and be like the prize that everyone else fights over. But it's like, no, put her in the pit too, which is like, I feel like that's got to be part of the plan too. Maybe it's to kind of draw suspicion away from Daisy. Or once again, maybe like I said, maybe this is this version of this realities. If we're doing the whole multiverse thing, Fitz, and he hates Daisy. It's like, oh, but then again, it's like, why would she still be young, and why is he young? Like, so many questions on that front. So he has to be fit from their time, their world, wherever this situation is. I want clarity on that. I want to know immediately, are we dealing with the future, or are we dealing with a multiverse situation? Which we still might be dealing with the future of that multiverse situation, because we still don't know what date it is. And it's just like, once again, I get it, but it frustrates me not knowing exactly how much time has passed. And maybe that's purposeful, because it plays a role in that, for it to be like, oh, to reveal like, oh yeah, actually, in actuality, it's 2017 in this one. Wait, what? So there's a thing. So, we just kind of have to wait and see. It's kind of interesting too, because that whole like, arena thing, I didn't think it was going to be Inhumans versus Inhumans. I thought it was just like, oh yeah, Inhumans versus somebody's champions. I thought that was the whole thing. But I guess that was just kind of a test with, Abby, so I guess that was just kind of a one-off situation. I guess sometimes they're like that, but in this particular case, because it's such a big prize like Quake, it's kind of a battle royale of like, probably like a tournament style thing of like, oh, let's see who goes up against who. It's like, sad thing is, I think no matter who you are, you're going to have a tough time going up against Daisy. Only one who might have a good chance is to telepath, but even then it's like, I don't know if that would necessarily help you against Daisy's powers. Because, I mean, she is legitimately, I would make the argument next to Black Bolt, she's probably like the most powerful Inhuman. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know how her power. In actuality, her powers are very similar to Black Bolt's in a sense. His are more his from his voice, but she can like shockwave from her hand. So I was like, I never really thought about that till now that I'm seeing her powers after seeing Black Bolt's powers in action, like how similar they are in certain regards. So I don't know. I'm very interested to see what the next episode has in store for us with this whole situation. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good